mean, we've been doing this for the best part of 8 years now. So we've come across a number of different ways, both good and maybe not so good, across a number of different sectors. And I think there's probably two core dynamics that we see repeating themselves. I would say number one is for the organization that people are joining. You know, if I just look at even the good to average range, we won't spend too much time on the ones that really aren't so good. But I think the onboarding process is quite practical, quite process, and quite functional. What I mean by that, it's like a tick list of, okay, well, we need you to go and meet X, Y, and Z. We need to make sure you got all your IT set up. It's all the practical things that you would expect them to have. And are they important? Of course they are. Nobody likes to start day one and think, oh my God, I can't access the intranet. My email doesn't work, let alone get into my computer. You need to get all that. But I almost see that as just the hygiene stuff.
Agreed.
You know, you should assume it works. I know it's super irritating when it doesn't, but assume it works. What I feel that they don't really address, and I think that they probably can't, and I'll tell you why I believe that to be true, is the human nature of it. Yes, you are hiring a really capable individual person who you feel through the interview process can add value and hopefully create even more value over time for the organization, etc. But what the onboarding processes that we've seen, what they can't and what they don't tap into is the human nature of the person that you've just hired. You know, and I think that taps into the other axes, which is the more senior you become, I believe the more lonely it becomes. You know, you think about our first job, you know, you're joining a community. There's a group of you. We'll all be looking upwards at the organization, thinking about, oh, well, you know, if I was in that role, that's how I would be doing it. It's very easy to be smart when you're not accountable for the outcome of that decision. As you move up through the organization, you know, the cohort comes a little bit thinner. And as you start to move really to the top table, it's a bit like, okay, it can be lonely. It is lonely. And when you're joining, when you're trying to assess the culture, you're trying to assess, well, who amongst my peers now applied for my role, et cetera, all of those dynamics, your ability to feel comfortable and share things that are really happening for you inside, I would say, is relatively limited. You know, it's going to be a while yet before you've got a really good sense of the stakeholder management and who you can trust and who's more of a colleague and a friend, rather than those who might be, I wanted that, let's just see how you get on. So I think traditional onboarding, even the good ones just do the hygiene stuff really, really well. And even if they offer sort of some time with an experienced person, that's really valuable. Don't get me wrong, I'm never criticizing these good things, but it doesn't create the safe space that new hire needs to have. That safe space being confidentiality. And you can only really get that if that person isn't part of the organization. So for most businesses, how do you do that? And the solution to that is the 90-day accelerator program, which, you know, I know we're delighted to be offering via yourselves. Because that provides an independent coach who is independent, who works in parallel to the business, who can create that safe space. Because otherwise, you're having those one-to-ones with somebody who's might be part of your interview, and it just doesn't really work. And I think that allows that conversation to start to happen. You can then start opening up. You can start to unpack your thoughts and your feelings sometimes. Obviously, you know, we're quite feeling-based humans. So that's really important for us to think, right, okay. And with the role of the 90-day coach, who will coach as much as mentor, they can help unpack that, repack it in a way that they feel will be super impactful. So I think what we offer is to work and sort of integrate into that hygiene orientated onboarding process and bring in more of that human side. So actually then you get the best of both worlds.